Initiate release sequencer. On my mark. 5,
We're on express elevator to hell. Going down.
2, 1. Mark.
Stupid podcast getting in the way of my conversating. Welcome back to the Resupply with me, Guy Next Door.
Me, DK.
And me, Fan, this week using the correct microphone.
We're bringing you your begrudgingly weekly double tap of all things Space Marines and Laser Force. Hello, gentlemen. How the bloody hell are you guys doing? What's been going on?
I mean, I'm good. As of like 6.5 hours ago, I'm on vacation. So I'm good.
Oh, vacation then? Do you get all
Nice.
California and shit? Hey man, you know, I used to term California and shit, but you know, we all know.
Yeah. I mean, I've never really lost the Californianisms even after moving to Texas, which, totally endears me to a lot of Texans, let me tell you.
Yeah, like hella Californian, bro.
Hella Californian.
Hella Californian.
good
You just don't even know.
Good morning to you, chat. Why is it 2 a.m. in Europe at the moment? Did you guys go through daylight saving change or something? Is that what happened? I don't
Probably.
understand.
'Tis the season.
Tis the season where everything gets fucked up.
We
yeah.
change tomorrow, so we go forward an hour. So what? Next week it's
No. You fall
You go back an
an-
hour.
You go back an hour,
we
which
go back
then
an
means that which then shifts the time that the show is again.
oh
So
what happened? So wait, we'll go to like 3 a.m. in Europe.
Correct.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
you
like-
poor
and like-
fuckers.
and like 8 p.m. my time and 6 p.m. DK's
I
time.
mean, I feel less
Not that
bad
I'll be-
about that. You don't
But,
do anything
yeah,
on a
no.
Friday night except for maybe go to gigs.
Hey, fuck you, man.
Eat a dick. Eat all the smelly dicks, you asshole.
Don't be mad at me. Look inwards for your angst, and you'll find the source.
COVID's
Yeah.
over. I'm going clubbing.
I didn't know you dislike seals that much. Lucy, I mean, you don't have you can watch the VOD. I know it's not the same. I really know it's not the same, but you can watch the VOD. But we appreciate you guys being here with us. It's been a good week, I suppose. What are these gigs you speak of? They are all actually happening on the same date in March. That's why, in May. That's why you don't know about them. Truly awful. They all got rescheduled to the same day in May. I believe you have plans.
Yeah, you're busy,
He is
unfortunately.
busy. What are you about to do on your vacation? Vacation then? California, California? No. I
So
tried.
yeah, you tried and you failed
Yeah,
miserably.
sometimes they're not
Please
all
don't do that
winners.
again.
They're not all winners. I'll work it out.
Will you though?
Yeah.
No, I'm going to Vegas for a few days and
Damn,
going
fool.
to Los Angeles for a few days to hang out with my cousin and go to Disneyland, which will be fun. So yeah.
Are you gonna get a lightsaber?
No.
Are you gonna do the
No.
lightsaber thing? Apparently, it's awesome.
So am going to Disneyland. My cousin is a huge Disney head, so it's like I have my own personal concierge. It's great.
Yeah.
You want to take a guess as to how much a 1-day park hopper ticket is at Disneyland now?
$1 million.
$150.
Oh, your first
$224.
$224.
$224 US
Worth
for
it.
a single day park hopper
What's
for
a park
Disneyland and
hopper?
California Adventure.
Ah, so
Now
you can go
that's some
between
fucking
the two.
inflation for you.
Means you can go between both parks.
You can go both ways. So, but why would you want to do
yes.
that in the same day? I don't like when we went there.
Because
I was like,
because timing wise, I've only got 1 day that I can do Disneyland while I'm in SoCal.
yeah, but like,
So
but Disneyland proper is better than California Adventure. California Adventure is like the rainbow's end of Disneyland.
Isn't that where the pot of gold is? Isn't that good?
Is it really? Oh. No.
I don't
Sorry.
know.
So
It was an
Are you
obscure.
using that
it was
phrase
an
differently than we do?
yeah. It was an obscure Auckland reference. Sorry, I realized
yeah,
that
no,
two people here, Tham would have got it, and like maybe Gray.
yeah, I got it.
2 out of
No,
3 dentists recommend this phrase.
I'm 0 for 2 this morning. That's all right.
but no, so Diablo, I am doing Vegas before, so Vegas is first, then
I see how
Los
it is.
Angeles to hang out with my cousin. So, yeah, I mean, it should be a really good week. It'll be definitely a week where I will not be thinking about work in any way, shape, or form,
Mm.
which is great. Because this week was quarterly IT planning, so like it was great to have like this light at the end of the tunnel of like, oh, I just have to get through. Really, I just had to get through yesterday because today was a fucking useless nothing day because like everybody took today off. So I basically like moved my laptop from my work setup, which is over there, and just put it on my personal computer and was basically screwing around for the 5.5 hours that I was logged in and just seeing if just to be able to respond to email or Slack messages if
I
they
miss the
came in.
days when that was the length of my commute was from one desk to the other.
Cheer to you, cat dude. You might have also got my Rainbows in joke earlier. That makes 3 of us. Welcome in. Very nice to have you here. Yeah, that's quite the commute. Those that
Yeah.
yeah. I've made longer putts in disc golf than that.
Yeah, the commute's atrocious, but the other cool thing that happened this week is we got the mastered tracks back for our EP. So I've been I've been listening to those and being like very excited about, okay, cool. We have the tracks now, and now we're just waiting for Marco to finish the artwork so we can do the thing and actually get it out into the world. So there is actually a light at the end of the tunnel for the new EP. So I'm very excited about that.
Well,
Very
obviously,
excited.
we'll look to maybe put a taster of that for the new for a new intro at some point. I mean, that sounds like a lot of work for me, but I suppose I gotta eventually do some sort of work on this channel.
It's gotta be done. Get us that new intro.
Look, I like the intro that's currently there. I want to tweak the end of it because it's so abrupt. And I asked Marco about it when he first put it together, and I was like, it kind of just ends. He's like, yeah, like and then you go into the show. I was like, I get it, but like, it just ends. So yeah, we might have a tinker with that, but I think the video will probably remain the same thereabouts. Make a song that's the same length as the one that we used. Hey, good morning, Smalley. Very good morning
What's
to
up?
you.
I'll need to double check the length of am I getting to you and see what meshes up closest to it
That'd
for
be
you.
Excellent. I mean, we can fade out the
excellent.
end. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
Very quick shout out to our boy Beans. Happy birthday to you, bro. It's your birthday currently in New Zealand, so happy birthday to you.
We got all kinds of birthdays popping off here.
Yeah,
it's almost like there was a date like 9 months ago where a lot of people's parents were having sex.
It's funny. We talked about this.
There's a nice image for everyone.
Well, we talked about this on the Lego stream. I was kind of whipping some shit to Mr. Doom because he never really thought about it that way, and I was like, "What were your parents celebrating?" He's like, "Oh, god damn it, be quiet, stop talking." Everyone's parents have at least done it once.
And if you've got siblings, they've done it at least as many times as you have siblings.
Oh yeah.
Unless you're like twins or triplets or something.
This is the worst conversation.
No. Please tell me more about how your dad cream pied your mom.
Oh, it's not gonna get any better than that, kids. Always remember to backtrack. Sometimes DK wish you could backtrack a sentence.
No, I mostly wanted to wait until Fan took a drink to get that one out.
Oh, yuck. Let's Let's pivot, shall we?
Oh, that was very, very close, bro. You
Smalley, I'm
that
going
was
back to sleep.
Oh, that was so close to there being energy drink all over my monitors. Well done. Well fucking done, bro.
Tell,
I
like-
fucking hate you so much.
You can tell it's a slow news week.
Oh.
It's really not though.
Yeah, we got lots to talk about.
It's like, yeah, we actually have stuff to talk about. We just have been, shooting the shit.
No, no.
Anyway, let's pivot. Cheers. I also want to give another really quick shout out because it's at the front of my mind. I think I added a shortcut for it. Two things. One, is that it? Go check out our boy John Calkins, Simply Okay out of Loveland. He is a music producer, and he has produced some really good tracks. His recent one, which is Rewind, I think it's called, is really fucking cool. So go check him out. The second thing is we're inching ever closer to that magic subscriber mark on our YouTube page. Fuck you, shortcut work. There we go.
It was taking its time. It wanted to let the segment breathe. You gotta let the segments breathe sometimes,
we don't want
Steve-O.
that many
Let 'em
links.
breathe.
If you guys could follow the YouTube page, we really appreciate it. I hate that link so much. I'd really like it to read the Resupply podcast or something better than that string of garbage.
Yeah.
Please give us follow. I really appreciate it.
We're begging.
Yeah, at this point, I hate looking at that string of characters. Right, that's kind of housekeeping out of the way. Let's talk about Nats, baby. There's been some conversation this week on the old Facebook. And
Yeah?
we figured, well, seeing as you guys basically create our content for us, let's just talk about what happened on Facebook this week. Obviously,
It was so serious, even I had to reactivate my account for all of 3 hours.
Hey, have you gone again?
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't handle it for like 2 hours, and I was seeing all kinds of shit. But I don't want to waste all my other jokes and content and stuff like that. So let's just get to the point.
Perfect. First things first. So we talked about it last week that Nats this year for Space Marines 5 would likely be either Loveland or St. George. Now, unfortunately, St. George... Than?
Yeah, one sec.
It's how bad I broke him, I guess.
Yeah, he was, I have to clean up here.
That's what
Unfortunately...
she said.
Unfortunately, St. George have pulled out, and are not. Keep a giggle to yourself, mate. We're being professional.
We're being professional. Have you met any of us?
We're being professional. I believe someone uttered the words cream pie earlier. So unfortunately, St. George have pulled out, and so we were like, okay, cool.
No cream pie.
Rip. Would have been cool to see St. George host the Nats. Unfortunately, ownership couldn't get on board.
Yep,
So
Thunder just went up and was like, "Come on, can we please host Nats?" And the owner just went, "No, keep your site's name out your fucking mouth."
I don't want to talk about that. It's been just
Talk about what? I don't know what you mean.
all week.
Why do you think I had to get off Facebook?
Oh. Yeah, you picked the worst week to reactivate your Facebook account.
Well, I also, got to miss April Fool's Day today, the one day of the year when people actually do read things critically on the internet. That can't possibly be true.
It's really
You need this kind of level of skepticism and scrutiny every day, folks.
Ahoy,
If
Lucy's
only.
dad. Very nice to see you. I can't believe you woke him up for this. You gotta let him sleep,
Yeah.
Lucy. Let him sleep.
Yeah. Okay. Great. We have parental supervision on us at the moment.
Shit.
This is not going well.
I can't believe
this
you
is
talked
totally not going to go
about,
well.
like, parents doing it.
How did you get parental controls slapped back on your computer?
I don't want you hanging around on Twitch anymore. It's a bad place. So
and we're bad people.
So yeah, unfortunately they were unable to come to some sort of agreement, and so Utah bowed out of hosting, which is a shame because after playing their maze, it would have been cool. Well, to be fair, I'm not planning on attending Internats this year. I've kind of had my nats. I got my fill, sort of. At least for a trip to the States. It was more that I have to prioritize adult shit, which is dumb.
Boo.
Yeah, boo.
Boo.
Yeah. No, that's okay. So we were under the impression, okay, cool. Well, that just means that Loveland are gonna host now. Cool. No, not to be. There's been some hotly talked about shenanigans, where Syracuse have had piped up and said, well, how about we host then, which is annoying, but whatever. What are your guys' kind of takes on this whole situation, if that's how we want to play this?
I mean, so it's no secret that I am a bit of a curmudgeon at the best of times. Let's start there. I know, this is shocking and revelatory information for everybody. I know.
What the fuck curmudgeon means.
Curmudgeon. You're going to see a picture of my face. It's fine.
Yeah, literally, Than's face pops up.
It's in the dictionary.
Ta-da!
A bad-tempered person, especially an old one.
Hey, I'm gonna be 43 next week, so yes, that qualifies.
Some synonyms include crank, crosspatch, sourpuss, and my favorite, old trout. I love it.
Anyway,
yeah.
So there is a very specific reason why so much of I fucking hate you, DK, so much. There's a very specific reason why so much of the tournament organizing and like how things have ended up in the past have essentially been representative democracy / semi-benevolent dictatorship. And that reason is because, quite honestly, a lot of the community are idiots and can't think their way out of a paper bag.
Whoa, calm your trout face down, okay?
You know, it's when you try to open up decisions for too many people that aren't necessarily going involved, have never done anything related to, and then people start throwing out hot takes about things that they literally have no idea about. I don't mind people that necessarily haven't been involved having opinions, but for fuck's sake, think your shit through before you post it out for everybody to see.
I think that's just good life advice generally.
Well, yes, and there's
social media a much better place.
Yeah, there is that bigger piece of think things through before throwing them off into the ether. I don't know. It frustrated me in that the Syracuse thing felt like something that at most in the initial should have been a site rep discussion. It did not need to be out into the wild for everyone to see. It should have been a representative discussion in the initial, basically to make sure, of where Loveland actually was at that point. Because all it did for a week and a bit, a week, several days, whatever time frame it
Feels like a long
was
time.
it feels like a long time, but again, I had a lot of other stuff going on last week, so my time sense is all fucked up. It all it did was just add confusion to the community at large for this being put out. Now, let's be, so let's be clear with something. I don't care either way. I'm not going this year. I have other things in flight that are basically going to prevent me from doing a Nats at either location. So I don't care. Um, but yeah, just think about things before you post them. Start in the smaller group to make sure that like there aren't any other things already kind of being worked, so that we don't get this massive confusion out into the community of, oh well, now there's maybe these like two other options. No, no, it just
I,
yeah,
I'd like
I don't know,
to.
It's
it's just
guarding
irritating.
against what you call the confusion of a multitude.
Yes, thank you, thank
Google
you.
what
Um,
a multitude
yeah, so
means.
that had kind of been on my mind as well, because people can heap blame on me if they want, because I did get a message from a Syracuse representative that had been asking about, oh, well, if St. George can't host, can we propose the idea if Loveland isn't able to do it, or if, maybe we put this some kind of discussion. And I had said that I think this does bear having a discussion about for a couple of reasons. But I had also been under the assumption that this would be something that would be talked about among a smaller group first before it was put to the community at large, assuming that it ever got to the community at large. And it's not because people are like hoarding everything for themselves or trying to keep things like safeguarded, or they don't want other people to be involved in the conversation. It is literally because of that reason, because you want to avoid the confusion of a multitude, and also because you need to do things like clear things with ownership of different sites. You need to make sure that dates are blocked off before you float the idea out to somebody. Because if you float an idea out to the community that simply isn't feasible, and people already build momentum around that and they already build an opinion around that, when you suddenly have to flip, it just creates more problems, which is kind of what happened initially anyway, since everybody had been sort of under the impression that, well, St. George is going to host this year. This will be their year to do it. We didn't know the rug was going to get yanked out from under us. So I thought there were compelling reasons why it at least bared having a discussion, because really St. George was the logical choice. They have not hosted a Nats. They were kind of due for a tournament where they hadn't really had, other than that West Coast that they had, where you first had the German team showed up. They didn't.
Yep.
They haven't really had like a large tournament where they've really been able to field like their A team in their own arena, or something like that, so they could like have sort of that flagship tournament. So they were kind of due, but stuff happens. They weren't able to do it. Really, your only two other viable sites kind of are Loveland and Syracuse, and neither of them, I think, really has like a better claim than the other, because in the case of Syracuse, they just hosted a fake Nats last year. I mean, we call it fake Nats, whatever. They hosted a tournament last summer, so they just did it last year. Loveland just hosted a tournament like last month, which, I mean, fair. Thunder very nicely reminded me that that's not unprecedented, that Sacramento did host two tournaments in 2017. We had a West Coast over the winter, and then we had Nats that summer. I think the difference was in that case that basically the Nats had been agreed to kind of the year before, and the West Coast kind of tacked on afterward as a, hey, if people want to come out and practice and learn the arena, if everybody's going to be here anyway, why don't we just make this into a West Coast? And I don't think there were any other sites in the running, but if I stepped on anybody's toes, then I'm sorry 5 years after the fact. But that's the main thing. So it's like, okay, well, neither of these sites really has a much better claim than the other. So I think it was worth having a discussion about, but I think the discussion kind of went out prematurely before all the issues were agreed to. And then basically now there's been backtracking over, oh, well, actually that's not going to work out. And if we are going to have a tournament, it probably needs to be in this site during this week. But we have not confirmed any kind of dates yet. Like it's kind of out there that maybe the last week of July in Loveland, but we're not confirming anything in this show, and I don't think anybody should take that as gospel yet.
So
And yes, I agree with El Diablo. St. George also would have been nice because then we could have had a Vegas weekend with Lasers players, and that could have been crazy.
That could that could have been simultaneously the greatest and worst weekend of so many people's lives.
well, so like that's, I mean, years ago, when the plan was put in place as to where Nats was going to be held over the last couple of years, Auckland and then St. George, that was, for me, a massive pull. I was like, I can't wait to play in St. George because we can tack on a Laser Force Vegas trip after or before. Probably after.
After is probably a
I would-
much better. It's a much better idea.
Yeah.
Not all of us are hoodlum. We don't all have the capacity to operate at that particular threshold under non-ideal circumstances, shall we say.
But to your point, I felt, I felt that title game on point. Thank you. I thought that Loveland kind of did to St. George what Syracuse did to Loveland, like, because there was talks about potentially hosting Nats, and as far as I was aware, we were like, at least me in my mind, I was like, of course it'll go to St. George, and then Loveland were like, oh, but we could host as well. I'm like, oh. You guys literally, we're at your tournament. I'm having this conversation in your foyer. So that really, that kind of bummed me out. But I just wanted to, like, slight kind of pivot. There's been a lot of talk about this shady organization known as the Laser Force Tournament Committee. And I just want to put it out there that I think we've talked about it before, but it probably bears mentioning again. This committee is basically a group of the main site representatives from each competitive site, and then maybe like a evil, and then maybe a couple of like long-standing Laser Force Space Marines players from, I don't know, a while back. But anyway, the majority of the conversation happens around the tournament representative. So if you want to be involved in these conversations, then you should be. But bear in mind that, if you are now the site site representative from your site, or at least one of the major ones, then act like it. Act accordingly. Be involved. Have like actual, productive conversations about shit, rather than hold a poll and then add in meme answers. Because that shit's really frustrating for people who actually
With great power comes great responsibility. And I mean, if it's like anything else in life, once somebody has actually had a taste of being a captain or an organizer or being on a committee, they usually actually don't really enjoy it all that much. So as much as everybody wants to be involved in the discussion, you also kind of don't.
Yeah.
Now, like, look, it's not like people are trying to be deliberately exclusive. It's just there's been a history of people who actually talk to site owners, who actually do planning, and who are usually the ones who are responsible for like organizing members nights. Every site has something like that. There's always somebody, one or two people who are just like, hey, let me reach out to everybody. Let me put up the event for the date. Let me be the one who's making sure everybody's getting into games. It just kind of happens of its own accord.
Yeah.
I think we may have reached a place as a scene where maybe we do need to talk about like having actual bylaws for how people serve on committees, and do we want to have some kind of process where people are putting forth like X number of representatives per site. But at that same time, it can't be something that's just like, well, look, the players are going to vote on this, because you do have to have representatives who are people who are going to be able to talk to site owners and be able to talk to other members of committees, and who are usually willing to travel to tournaments, because if you're not going to the tournaments, you're not being involved in all the discussions, and that's just kind of the reality of it.
And you can't, like, you probably won't be able to attend everyone. That's understandable, especially because at the moment the scene is more active in the United States than it is in Australasia, or in Europe, from a Space Marines perspective. But like, if you want to be that person, be the person. Just make sure you commit to doing that stuff, because that's how.
None of us have ever turned down help when it's been offered.
Yeah, if you want
Nope.
to come in and like actually offer some good advice or some good talking points, or like, you know, be a productive member of, you know, this blossoming scene, then by all means do it. But if you're there to fuck around or like, you know, cause, I don't know, just if you're there as a distraction, if you're not there to help, then you shouldn't be there.
Opinions are like assholes.
All of us are.
I've got a big one. Um, for pretty much ever, it's been self-selecting because it's often a thankless job and it falls to those who are actually willing to do it. Exactly. Steve explaining reasons I'm not on the committee. Exactly right. Exactly right. You just hang out from under your rock and shout obscenities.
He's a non-voting observing member there for stats keeping purposes.
Yeah, you get an exemption card because you do good work with stats. Yeah, I'm your spirit animal. I get you. Right. So that was one thing. The second thing, and you touched on it as well, if you're not traveling to tournaments, in I noticed in the poll, maybe after I had a look at who actually voted in these polls, I've changed my opinion slightly, but there are some people that did vote in the poll that got put out in the Laser Force tournaments page. There are some people that voted on where Nats should be that I know have no intention of going to Nats. If you're not, if you and like I differentiate that between, because somebody made the comment of, I think it was Caleb, said if you don't travel to Nats, or like if you don't travel outside of your site, then you shouldn't be voting. And I kind of understand that, but I think you word it better, like if you have no intention of traveling to this tournament, then you shouldn't be voting. If you're voting on where Nat should be, you should be voting with the intent of actually going to that site to play. Because, you know, otherwise you're just, again, wasting time. This is why these conversations happen off the tournaments, the Laser Force tournaments page, because it's hard to sift through 150 comments where 70 of those comments are horseshit. So yeah, just thought I would,
Only 70 of them?
I'm being
Your mileage
generous.
may vary.
Yeah, it is what it is. Like, if you're gonna go and play. Like, this game is fun. These tournaments are fun, real fun for the most part.
For the most part.
And regardless of where it
Generally.
is, if you can
All right.
if you can go, you should absolutely go. Absolutely go, especially after the last couple of years that we've had.
Yeah, it is nice to see people. Again, like even me, who hates most of you, is happy to see most of you.
Even the old trout.
Yeah, even
Even
the
old
old
trout
trout.
fan.
And yes, Steve-O, I noticed when you did that, and I was just trying to ignore it. So fuck you.
That's
I
okay.
hate you so much.
Yeah, you do you. You ignore the cyberbullies. Right. So, is there anything? Actually, so after all of that, where we're at is we don't have a confirmed confirmed date range yet, which is annoying. Because we, by the sounds of it, according to Loveland's site representative Sergeant Tucker, they had 2 weeks blocked out, and now it's, I don't know, a little shakier. But hopefully we can lock those dates down so people can start booking some flights within the next week or two. Unless, you know,
That would be ideal.
out of nowhere San Marcos is like, hey, we should host. But I don't know how much traction that'll get. Really need to confirm prices shooting up. Exactly. I waited 3 days before I booked my flights to Christchurch to compete in the Cuzzy Cup. And my flights went up like $200 each way. So that really fucking bummed me out. Who will make the final call on where it will be held? At
I mean, at this point, the Loveland site owner.
yeah, we're waiting on those dates, but it looks to be Loveland will host internationals this year. Hopefully, it's internationals. I don't know. I'm pretty sure no one from Auckland is traveling over this year unless someone makes a last minute change. But people have the people that would travel have other travel plans now. And I've I've kind of already had my internationals for the year. I had a great time at Loveland. It was great, but another trip to the States probably is not in the cards for me.
Might be a little challenging.
No chance for you
Just
either.
maybe.
Stallion, you don't go to Nats. You don't get a no. Just kidding. I'm fucking with you. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, keep an eye on the on the Laser Force tournaments page. For all the average things that happen on there, it's still like, you know, a good place to get information, a good place to like connect as a community. Speaking of community, if you want to join the Resupply community, !Discord, and chat, you come join us on Discord. We like to hang out in the voice chats and video chats and do social things and stuff. So if you want to hang out with the community on there, come and join us. It's great. You will when it's in Auckland. Excellent. I'm gonna hold you to that. I assume that you would be. That's gonna happen next year. Next year, that's our year. Next year's our year. As,
Finally,
as all Warriors,
3 years late.
As all Warriors fans like to say, next year's our year.
Yeah, 3 years late.
Fuck. That's driving me crazy.
Fair. I think it's driving everybody crazy. I think everybody's been like, New Zealand, yes. Oh, travel restrictions, fuck.
Oh.
New Zealand, oh, travel restrictions, fuck. Yeah, it's been fucking terrible.
You're not gonna think about how old you'll be. Don't. That's next year's
don't.
Stallion's problem.
Yeah, that is future problems.
Auckland, Brisbane, and wherever the Australian titles will be. I haven't heard anything about Aussie titles, mainly because I think Perth was still cut off on the rest of Australia. I don't think they were accepting travellers at this stage. Oh my god. That's still young, I'm for real. So, Australia is 2 countries at the moment. Yeah.
At least.
So, what was next on the agenda? Was the selection process, yeah? You want to talk about that?
Well, we kind of went through that, but really there's never been an official selection process. It's just sort of been
for where to host Nats.
Wide-standing community, yeah, a wide-standing community agreement as to where it's going to host next. It's just been sort of on a rotating basis. So we had kind of a tacit, never written agreement that we would try to alternate, at least in the U.S., between like East Coast versus West Coast, so that way you would kind of defray costs for people on a year-to-year basis. Mm-hmm. Like if it was on the East Coast, 1 year, West Coasters had to spend a bunch of money. So next year, East Coast people, they can spend the money to come out to the West Coast.
Oh, Russell, I love you.
And then like every couple of years, it's been about every 4 years at this point, that said, okay, well, we should try to get some Americans down in Australia. And that was successful. In 2014, we didn't get a lot down there, but by 2018, attendance went way up. And we're hoping that would also hold for like 2.5, really.
Yeah, because it was about 2.5 total. Which was that was a lot of fun. It's good times. But again, like it's always a good time when you get that many people from the community in one place at the same time. I mean, doing live shows at the I say live. We weren't streaming yet, but the whole actually recording them with a studio audience
gallery
at that was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Well, the idea is that it's supposed to help alleviate some of the cost of travel, right? So you would my expectation, and obviously some people can't travel, but the way I see it is if people made the effort to travel to your site to play, you should kind of return the favor. And yeah, I think having it ping pong between Australasia and the States is was kind of the fairest way to do it. But it's kind of easy for us here because at this stage, there's only two sites in Australasia really at the moment that are active Space Marines scenes.
There's not that many more in the States at this point.
Yeah, and like part of that, I think, is not necessarily because of dwindling um, Space Marines players numbers, or a little bit to that maybe, but like mostly because um, sites have closed or whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe with the exception of Ballarat, because I think they're still there, and they don't play. I don't think they've got an active Space Marine site anymore, and if they do, we don't hear from them at all. So, did you want to check with New Plymouth recently? Nah, I think they're still there. New Plymouth seems to always be there. It's not going anywhere. They haven't seceded.
Yeah. So I mean, but at this point, like everybody's had at least one or two ups in terms of being able to host Nats. So when you run into a situation like this year where it was pretty clear who the front runner should be and who had wanted to host a tournament previously in St. George, that yeah, pretty much everybody was on board with that. But it's like, okay, well, if not them, then who? We were basically down to two sites who actually were able to host, and you could kind of make a case for either. Neither of them had a real great case to make, but hey, if it's got to be held somewhere, then you put it out there. So I just didn't think that the discussion should be cut off completely, but it does need to be a measured discussion. It needs to have some actual like facts attached to it rather than just, hey, what does everybody think? Because people think a lot of things.
Well, I mean, yeah, and so I think part of the selection process is like where would everyone as a whole like to play, but also who hasn't hosted for a while, and you know, yeah. But like I think, yeah.
So I mean, so historically, and we'll go with the U.S. sites, but like historically, like yeah, that would like happen at whatever Nats was actually happening. There would be kind of those formal / informal discussions with essentially the captains / tournament committee people who were there at the tournament, and really it's kind of the same way it would happen, or at least when I was in Auckland, this is kind of the same way that it would happen, where you'd have those discussions like literally like at the tournament for okay, well, yeah, we're here this year. So, okay, so like 2017, like, okay, so we're here in Sacramento this year. Okay, so 2018, that can either go east or it can go to Australia. Okay, well, 2018 is the 30-year anniversary for Brisbane being open. Well, fuck, got to be Brisbane. Like
yeah, I think it was
that just makes sense. But like, but it's that type of of discussion that like yeah it's never been a necessarily a super formal process, but it's always been a representative discussion of okay, yeah, who hasn't had it for a while, what makes sense, is how likely is it for us to get approval to be able to play at this site for a week-long tournament, because I mean that obviously factors in,
it's kind of key.
Yeah, it's like which that's one of the nice things, admittedly, with Syracuse, like super friendly ownership. We know that Sanch is going to be like, oh, you want to do this day? Yeah, just make sure there's nothing, and we'll book it in and go. Sweet. So so there's that type of way up. But then you've also kind of got like with Loveland. Okay, well, Loveland's an hour from Denver, so you have a big hub airport as opposed to Syracuse, which is essentially a regional airport, so there's not as many flights going into it. So your plane tickets are going to be commensurately more expensive trying to get there versus another location.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's all these little pieces that um, need to factor. Now, again, so sometimes the discussion literally is like, okay, well, we are on the West Coast this year. We need to be on the East Coast next year because because Australasia isn't a thing. Okay, so what sites out east want it? Well, it's basically Syracuse or Detroit. Like those are kind of the options. Okay, who's been the longest since they've had an actual Nats? Okay, it's this side. It has been the longest. Okay, let's do that first. We'll try to isolate dates there first. But if not, the fallback is the other site that's in region. But we're gonna wait until we have a confirm yes no from the original before we put things out into the world of, oh, hey, this had to change because XYZ. Now it's gonna be here.
Yep.
Yeah.
So.
And I think that's a decent process. The only people that potentially lose out in that process is anyone who didn't attend that initial competition to be involved in some of those non-official conversations of, hey, wouldn't it be awesome if we played here next year? And you get a feeling from people of either, yeah, let's definitely do it, because whenever you travel, you're on that high. You're hanging out with your friends. You're thinking, like, part of the pull for, like I said, for St. George for me was the possibility of a Laser Force crew Vegas trip, because I've done one on a smaller scale. Sorry.
Yeah.
And
yeah, no, again, Laser Force trip to Vegas, simultaneously, potentially one of the best weekends ever and one of the worst weekends ever.
It'd be amazing.
All in one. Oh, I'm not saying it wouldn't be amazing, but I'm definitely saying that it would be both amazing and terrible all at the same time. It'd be great.
Yeah.
And that was the last they ever saw of Fireball DK as he streaked down the north end of the strip.
We were streaking through the quad. But yeah, the thoughts of hanging out with the Oakley boys in Vegas just drives me wild. It'd be so good.
Your liver is already complaining. I'm just letting you know that your liver is already complaining.
It sounds like a recipe for alcohol poisoning to me.
Yeah,
it really does.
There's a site opening relatively near Loveland in a few months. We just learned, and you're hyped about it. It's pretty cool. Anytime there's a new Laser Force popping up, makes me very happy. Love it.
But allegedly it's Gen 7.
All the things I would do to DK in Vegas. What, you'd annoy him about, like, Illuminati talks and shit as well? You wouldn't go to Vegas. Who are you kidding? You don't travel places.
Russ would 100% go to Vegas.
I would love it.
Even if it was just Vegas.
Could you imagine?
I'm pretty sure he's already planning a trip to Vegas this summer, as I recall from
business trip.
If we had like a couple of suites, and you basically book out a floor of a hotel. That'd be amazing.
It could be a motel.
That's
a cheaper option.
There's a dude floating in the pool. You literally be in Vegas the week before Nats. Exactly, that's what we're talking about.
Perfect. So there'll be a perfect test of our theory. Is it better to do Vegas before Nats or after? We'll get some hard data behind that.
Cosmo or Aria? I stayed at the Rio, and I thoroughly regretted it. I had a very average time in Vegas this year. It's the second trip to Vegas that I didn't enjoy. The first one I had mad
the Rio
tonsillitis.
Is forever on my shit list. They can claim they're on the strip all they want, but they're fucking
They're
liars.
not on the strip. Unless you have a car, don't stay at the Rio. And even then.
So Russ, Cosmo or Aria. So I'm staying at Aria on my trip.
Is that the one that looks like a helix?
I'll let you know. Yeah.
Yeah, we got lost in the hallways. I think I've told that story on the pod before. It was great. Absolutely great. Don't stay at the Rio, kids. Dude, everything was closed. The main reason I went, two main reasons I went there. One, they had like spa facilities. I wanted to get a massage after Nats. A
good massage.
A good massage, not a Vegas massage.
Not a massage.
Yeah. And two,
wink, nudge, say no more.
Two, their pool looked awesome. Both of those fucking things were closed when I went there, and they didn't say anything about that on the site. Their buffet restaurant was also closed, as were like 2 or 3 other restaurants in the hotel. It's just real garbage. Don't stay at the Rio. It sucked. a bunch of bullshit.
Thanks, Biden.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. Thanks, Jacinda. You got Rio'd. So, yeah, that's kind of the basic, the way that kind of the selection process has worked in the past. I'm not entirely convinced we need like an official process.
No, it's always been really chill. This is literally the first time it's come up that there's been any kind of controversy about where Nat should be held, and that's only because the obvious choice had to drop out.
Yeah. Yeah. And like maybe it's been a case of we've never had the issue or anything, but we have maybe some people in the past have felt like left out of the conversation when they were like, "Oh, I wanted a host," and no one asked if we had an option. So I don't know. Maybe there's a case to that. We'd have to actually hear like individual testimonies about that sort of thing. But as far as I'm concerned,
But at least so far, it has been, I think, a fairly good rotation. That usually it's at least like another 3 years before it comes back around to a site, and people aren't just like
at least
constantly monopolizing their ability to host Nats.
Yeah, I mean,
and I mean the other thing is that it's a real rarity for a site to host without having sent representatives to tournaments prior to that, because that's also an important step. You need to see, like actually physically see how a tournament works, how long it takes, how it's run, how teams interact, how all those things need to happen before you host. I think Loveland 2015 is about the only time we've actually had a site host before they were like really deep in the tournament scene. And I mean, it's not like they had never been involved in.
Yeah, that was a case of because because that's Jeff's site, and Jeff and I had done the organization for like all the original Nats in the early 2000s. Like it wasn't necessarily an unknown quantity.
Correct.
At that point, it was like it was a, oh, okay, it's not, yeah, it's not something where it's going in completely cold to a site. The site kind of already knew what to expect because of ownership. So little different scenario, as opposed to a site that's never come to a tournament, never had anybody involved with a tournament, trying to put their hand up to say, oh yeah, we'll do it.
I think maybe on the flip side of that as well is not only is it important for people to see how tournament works and yada yada yada, but it's also important for the rest of the scene to see that site has a group of players that are actually serious about playing tournament style Space Marines, because like, and the conversation came up whilst we were at WCT about San Marcos hosting a tournament. And one of the things that I had said prior to all of the other crazy shit that happened was well, you guys don't have an active tournament scene at the moment. So maybe I guess they had like technically the Chula Vista players, but really, like, not really.
They didn't really have them though.
No. Me calling LLT players on serious? What did I say? I don't think.
I don't know.
I think.
But read the next comment.
Loveland being Shem, yeah.
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 And that was the other thing that came up in terms of like, well, okay, in this whole kind of Loveland versus Syracuse type thing. On the one hand, you could say, well, look, really the only person from Syracuse who came out to the tournament, barring Beans's last-minute glorious entrance, was Cody. So it's not like Syracuse had a bunch of team representation and came out to West Coast. By the same token, Loveland was hosting, and some of their team support kind of evaporated at the minute. So it's, again, I fully applaud anybody who's willing to step up and host. This isn't about that. But it's just, I think it's really hard to make a 100% kind of compelling case for one over the other.
Yeah.
Except that there are some other side reasons. Again, things like airline costs, being essentially a located hub that could make Loveland kind of a more attractive option. But I don't really want to make the case for that because selfishly it would be easier for me to get to Colorado because A, it's cheaper, and B, I was kind of planning a trip out there anyway. But that's not a reason for the rest of the community. So
but also
is
like
definitely...
I think the one of the most important things is where are people willing to travel to play,
Yeah.
and you can make a case of, well, that's why we put a poll up in the tournaments page. Yeah, that's not really the best way to go about gauging interest, though, because then it devolves into chaos. The best way is for your site representatives to gauge, okay, where are my players willing to actually go? And if none of them are willing to travel, then that's what you should be.
Moot.
Yeah, that's what you should be telling the rest of the tournament scene, is why actually none of my players are willing to travel anywhere. So we're kind
that
of out for
unfortunately
this
was
next
kind of the
tournament.
conversation that I had with some Sacramento players when we had a brief look at how much it would actually cost to get to Syracuse, and especially with a lot of people planning to try to go to Auckland next year, it just it would have been super tough.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, people will go to where they want to play. Yeah. Right. I think that's probably all we really need to say about that. Do we want to get into anything else?
Yeah.
I think. Do we?
Yeah, because it's not gonna take me that long. I mean, we can just raise it now, and people can talk about it during the week if they want. Because I had kind of gotten, I sort of, I guess, half ranted to you guys after we got off the air last week, and then
all of our
since I
best
had to
material
log,
happens off the air. It's weird.
since I had to log back onto Facebook anyway to address what was going on in the tournament group, I thought I would at least put it up in the committee chat about some talk that we've had about how the 0 point penalty system has evolved within the last couple of years. So prefacing it with, I think it's been a vast improvement overall, that basically our several iterations of what we've done with the rules and reffing has been an improvement. Like from the dark ages of you had to keep track of what penalties the other team committed against you, and then you had to tell the refs, and the refs had to confirm that or not. Like that's how we did it once upon a time. There wasn't, but and it was
Yeah,
bad.
ugh,
It was horrible. It was not a preferred way. Then we got the ref suits. That was a big improvement because we could actually finally deal with things in real time. We actually had a record of who got penalized and where and when and all those sort of different things. But it still led to consternation and discussions and after the fact rules. Oh well, I wasn't able to assess this. We still need to add this penalty, and of course that's where the blow-ups happen. That's where the drama starts. To the 0 point penalties, which has drastically cut down on just how much drama and consternation there is about penalties and how long it takes to resolve things after a game. That's been a vast improvement. Nonetheless, I think there is still kind of a misperception about how the mindset is needed to change moving to that system, because every tournament I've been to, essentially, that we have adopted that system, there's always a question that's raised, okay, well, how many penalties does someone get before something is deemed to be careless or deliberate and the penalties need to, quote unquote, need to start counting? Which, to my mind, is kind of the wrong question to ask. Like, I don't think there's ever going to be a golden number of how many penalties someone amasses before they count. Like, it might be 1 in some cases. It might be 10 in others. How much leeway you give individual players. Like we had this whole discussion about, well, look, we're going to give the UK players a little bit more leeway in this last tournament because they're not used to the system of rules. They probably are going to shield a bit more, and it's not going to be intentional. It's going to take them longer to adjust. From a purely kind of equality standpoint, like treating all players fairly in the sense of being equal, that's not fair. From an equity standpoint of, well, look, you have to meet people where they are and you have to be able to give them the tools and the context to be able to adapt to the rules and stuff like that, that is fair. So there isn't going to be sort of one golden number, because if you just say, well, it's 4 penalties and then that's it, people who have never played the rules before, that's going to be discouraging to them because they're going to reach that number much more quickly, even though they're not intentionally cheating or anything like that. So I think part of the mindset is that we changed the way that we do penalties, which is good, but we haven't really changed the mindset of reffing, which is something that Traj brought up when this system was first engineered, is that you need to change your mindset as a ref from before you always gave the benefit of the doubt to the player who was potentially infringing the rules. So until you actually see someone
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's a lot. So if you see until someone actually chases, until they actually target the player, something like that, you don't hit them, and you probably won't be able to hit them until after they get the shot off because it's just going to be that quick. That kind of thing. I mean, if you can get them between the time they target and actually take the shot, great. But you have to wait until you actually confirm that's going to happen.
Mm.
Under the 0 point penalty system, the benefit of the doubt is supposed to go to the player who is potentially being disadvantaged, i.e., the player who is being chased or is having the blind fire committed against them. Something like that. Right? So refs need to be more proactive. They need to be able to judge things quickly and potentially to make some preventative type calls and not just to penalize things after the fact. Now, it's important you still penalize things when they happen and not, oh, well,
Well, I
I
missed
forgot
it,
to do
so
this or that.
yeah.
Because your entire purpose as a referee is to stop broken plays from happening, to stop players from taking advantage of broken plays, of breaking the rules. Not because they're intentionally cheating or anything like that. And I want to put that out to the community. Like right now, I do not think there is anybody currently involved in the tournament scene who purposely, intentionally cheats to try to take advantage of the rules. I don't think that is a big part of our culture. I
I
love that
agree.
that's not part of our culture. I think people are trying to play within the spirit of the rules. But stuff happens. But as referees, like that needs to be incumbent upon us that we need to be especially mindful of that, and we need to take proactive steps to stop that kind of infringement. So example I can throw out from the last tournament was the very stupid chase that I committed against Metalface after Baden's 5 chain. I came up a ramp. I even had my gun behind my back because I'm like, he just did a 5 chain. If I see anybody, they're probably going to have a path. But as soon as I get up to the top, I get my gun back out. I come around the corner, see Metalface, and I shoot him. And Applesauce immediately shoots me down because I'm stupid. That was obviously a chase. I knew it was going to be a chase. That kind of thing. Now, that's a situation where, as a ref, I think you can make the case that really what should have happened is as soon as I start walking that direction, I'm about to turn that corner to where I'm going to see Metal Face. If the ref knows that I'm there, knows that he's there, and that they have a path, and that I have come up, and I have no way of knowing that they have a backtrack path, the ref puts me down before I'm able to turn that corner and actually take the shot. Because there's no way for me to know, but it stops a broken play from happening. Because after a 5 chain, somebody might be down to their last life or two or something like that. You want to stop anything like that from happening. So that would be a case where a ref might be proactive, where I might not have had the intention to cheat, but because I had no idea it was going to be a completely unintentional type thing, that I need to be put down before I'm in a situation to chase that player. Now, by the same token, I could also make the case as somebody with, literally over 20 years of experience playing this game, and I knew I had enough forethought to keep my gun behind my back going up the ramp because I knew somebody might be there, that if I got that penalty right there, maybe that one should have stuck because that was an incredibly stupid, careless penalty
Yeah,
for me
but
to
did you
get.
do it intentionally? Like, what was your
No,
intent?
and
Yeah, so
that's the thing.
yeah, so mistakes happen, and like so
Exactly.
a similar thing happened to me in the cubby. Oh, fuck, I keep forgetting what it's called. The third floor cubby, whatever it's called. Chamber. I was a medic. Opposition's commander dropped some nuke, which I assume was Tandor. I had backtracked back into chamber, and I was down to one life, and Tandor ran in and killed me, and I was real mad about it, and I wasn't mad at Tandor, although, an experienced player like him should have been like, well, I mean, the likelihood is that somebody set a path back into chamber. What I was mad about was there was two referees that were stood there, right there, specifically for that reason, and did nothing to prevent me getting killed out of the game. That's what I was mad about. So, but and we've talked about this. The problem is, unless you play at Brisbane, you don't really get practice as a referee. And then what normally happens is we stick less experienced players in quiet areas of the arena so that they never really improve their game sense of how to be a referee in the maze. And the 0 point system is there. It is actually supposed to kind of account for players who are less experienced, where they can penalize somebody and stop their momentum, and that generally has a lesser impact on a game than taking 1,000 points from somebody. That's kind of what it's there for. It's supposed to stop somebody from infringing, and also at the worst case scenario, usually, it only impedes their momentum in a game. One thought that I had just as you were speaking, possibly a solution to that, and we've put together point of view games during Space Marines, which have become training tools for people on how to play the positions of Space Marines. Perhaps what we need to do at the next tournament is have the GoPro on refs for maybe a half dozen games, and also not just have the GoPro on their head, but maybe some sort of microphone as well, where they can be an active participating referee, where they move around the arena to get into position to see if something is dodgy, or they see a track potentially unfolding, so they actually run from point A to point B so they can see most of it unfolding. Some sort of active referee giving commentary on what they are looking for in a game, potentially loud enough so that it gets picked up on the microphone, but that it doesn't impede too heavily on what's happening in the game. But we use those sorts of things, and we get the viewpoint of some very experienced referees to use as training tools for what people should be not only looking for in a game, but also how they should be participating as a referee. Because you have to, let's go to you have to be you have to be a participant in the game. Too many referees I see standing there doing nothing, standing there sitting on walls, or the worst one is, and it doesn't happen so much these days, but when referees are on their phones, which is crazy to me. If you can't not be on your phone during a game, don't have your phone with you. You shouldn't have it anyway, but you're all adults. You should know when is and isn't appropriate to be fucking holding onto your phones.
And that's the bottom line, is that because we are responsible for policing our own community, everybody has to take their ups at reffing, and people need to be serious about reffing.
Yeah.
And honestly, it really bothers me when I see other experienced players attempt to get out of reffing or talk badly about having to ref and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. We should be the ones setting the example of everybody refs, and you are an active participant in doing that.
Yeah.
So one recommendation that I had made on that post is, look, if at all possible, when you have your member nights, I know lots of sites struggle to even get 12 to show up to a member night. That's just the reality that might happen. But anytime you have more than 12, rather than having players sit out, have them ref. Get some practice reffing outside of tournaments. If the only time that you're reffing is once a year at a tournament, it just, we need to be getting more reps than that. And
it's muscle memory.
That's partially
it is.
Yeah.
That's partially why the video is
muscle
such
memory.
a good thing, because then you can actually, somebody can see from your point of view what the things that you're looking for, and I will communicate. So off the back of what Russ just said, interested in exploring risk, being able to communicate with each other. I mean, you kind of can. You can't if you're trying to yell at a referee who's standing 10 meters away from you, but you can move. Go and be like, hey, such and such, can you watch this shot going from this way, because from where I'm standing it looks very borderline, or hey, I didn't see the start of a potential track, but I saw the end of it, can you confirm? And this stuff you can have a conversation in game, and you might miss something else that's happening, maybe, I don't know, but these conversations should be happening.
Yep. But that's the other thing too, is that altering your mindset to, oh, well, I didn't see the start of this, but I saw the end of it. If you think that it's potentially dodgy, you should be taking that shot.
Exactly right.
You 100% should, because your goal is to prevent any potential chases. So you give the benefit of the doubt to the potentially chased player.
Yeah. I'm
I know
less
it
inclined.
sucks if you get hit for something that you didn't do, but at the end of the day, because it's 0 points, you're supposed to just get over it and walk away. And so the other things is that under the system, I think we need to be even less tolerant of players, especially experienced players, back talking to refs and saying, I didn't do anything. Take it, move on, and talk about it later. That's always driven me crazy.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what the second point was. I lost my train of thought there.
I
Train of thought derail.
I would say, like, I'm less inclined to do it for some blind fire shots, some shielding shots, but certainly for tracks, and for for shielding, I will move into a position where I can see that shot better. Because usually, if a player is taking that shot, they will take that shot multiple times, and so I'll try and move into a position where I can see a better angle. And like, even if I am, like, there were some instances of players like doing this around walls, and I will penalize them for making that shot.
Yep.
Because the likelihood is that shot is not a clean shot to be making.
Yep. But it needs to have some kind of corrective applied. That was the second one I was going to make. Is just also that referees need to, I guess, just have the courage to make those kinds of calls, which is easier said than done. There are all kinds of reasons why people don't pull the trigger. You hate being penalized for something you didn't do, so you don't want to do it to another player on accident. The fear of being wrong, potentially being corrected gently or otherwise by an experienced player, stuff like that. That I know that's a big fear for inexperienced referees. They have said that to me personally.
Yeah.
But it's just we need to do something as a community to improve that process, starting with like not getting in people's faces about how they're doing at reffing, getting people more practice at reffing. Because if people are going to be upset that infractions are piling up and that nothing is happening,
can't be.
If your point of view is you want reffing there to be a punitive measure for people who infringe the rules, then you're actually making a case to go back to the old system to say that no, penalties just need to be 1,000 points. If somebody does something wrong, they need to get penalized, and that's what the refs are there for. If your mindset though is that refs are there to be proactive to prevent broken plays from happening, we need to allow refs to be more proactive and do those things. So those are kind of, just to me, people want too many different things out of reffing right now. We need to come to some kind of consensus over, is reffing supposed to be punitive or is it supposed to be proactive?
Or they want conflicting things. Like they're the same players wanting conflicting things, or they want things when it applies to me, I want this way, but when it applies to other people, I want the opposite. And you kind of have to, if we are going to stick with the 0-point system, which I fundamentally believe is a better way of us governing our game, then there needs to be less blowback for people getting shitty that they got penalized, because at the end of the day, usually it doesn't mean anything. Usually, there may be
if an attack gets broken up, like, that sucks.
Yeah.
But if it was just you and it's not the rest of your team who's there to capitalize, can you really say that you were about to just blow the game wide open with just you breaking into a resupply at one time? I don't think so.
Yeah.
So just get over it. Move on.
Yeah.
Set up your attack and go again.
Russ's comment in chat: soccer style, fouls happen, most of the time the game just goes on. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and
exactly what we want.
And that's kind of the secondary thing there is mistakes are going to happen with reffing. Like they're just going to, because even no matter the sport, no matter how experienced the referees, you can point to at least, in a professional game of some form with professional referees, you can point to at least one blown call a game, generally. At least, usually more, because of speed of the game and
just general human error.
Just general human error. It happens.
It's never going to be perfect.
Yeah. So it's like I got hit for 2 penalties during this last tournament, and both of them were like one was a chase where I had no idea somebody had set a track. I got shot. And I looked at them. I'm like, they backtracked that whole thing, didn't they? And yep, okay, fine. And then the second one was actually one that I think it was Josiah penalized me on for a shield, and I was like, come around the corner. I thought I was good, hit this, and immediately just hit, and I paused. And like, I gun over shoulder and chest wasn't out yet. He's like, yep, okay, like
that's all it has to be.
Yeah, people need to accept. You need to accept that you are not as perfect as you think you are inside the arena. None of us are. None of us are as perfect as we think we are inside of the arena. There's always something. There's always the potential for something. Just because you think your muscle memory is set right, maybe that, yeah, like the one that I got hit for, I thought I had gun under shoulder. I thought I was good. I was about 2 inches higher than I thought. Happens. Okay.
It does.
Except accept the fact that you are not as perfect as you think you are, and also accept the referees are human. The referee, like, we don't have the luxury right now, and probably never will. We don't have the luxury of having non-playing refs. The people that are in reffing you are your fellow Laser Force enthusiasts who have traveled, in most cases, unless they're home site people, have traveled to do the thing with you, and even home site, they should have taken the time off to be there to do the thing. Yeah, I'm not subtle, I know.
I'm glad.
So just this yeah, blowing up at a ref because you think they've made a blown call, like, what?
That's not cool.
Yeah, why are you blowing up at somebody who is they're at a tournament with you, they're playing this tournament with you, therefore they have this generalized same love of the game that you do. Stop blowing up at people. Accept that you're not perfect, accept the refs aren't perfect, discuss later. It's not a hard fucking concept. It's not a hard concept.
Yeah, I don't know how many times I've had to say it. Like we'll talk about it later. We'll talk about it later. Just go play.
I think people's issue is that that sometimes these conversations don't happen later. But I think part of oh, excellent. I'm glad you're here, Traj. But I think part of it is
well,
also
you said you missed most of it. So. Watch the VOD, Traj. Tell me if I got anything wrong.
Like, part of it is like, yeah, these conversations don't get talked about later. But I mean, that's kind of the point, that if it was important enough to warrant a conversation, the conversation would have likely happened. Refs need to remember that part of the game. Yep. We talked about active refereeing, and Traj, this might be something that you guys can help out with in Brisbane. I had a thought, like, what might be kind of cool is, in the same way that we've done point of view Space Marines games, perhaps either at a tournament or because you guys play on the regular with referees, having an experienced referee or referees wear a GoPro or something in the maze and maybe record some active commentary about, okay, so I can see this has happened, and blah 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 has set a track. So if somebody comes in here right now, oh look here, they cut, bang, okay, I penalized them because they were about to infringe on blah blah blah. Anything like that we can use as training tools, is to see how experienced referees referee a Space Marines game. I think that stuff would go a long way, assuming that people actually watch it, but go away to see. Yes. Go away, go a long way to actually learn how to referee without having the luxury of an active tournament scene. Yeah.
But that was just my bottom line making the post is, at root, like, TLDR, my whole thing is, these conversations about how many penalties should somebody get before they start counting is fundamentally wrong-headed and is asking totally the wrong question. The question we should be asking is, how do we get refs to be more proactive and prevent these infringements from happening in the first place? Not how do we decide at what time or at what place reffing becomes more punitive. Because having this punitive mindset, to me, is not productive.
I think there will always be a point, though, that if you have somebody who is getting consistently pinged for having, usually, the way I put it is it's playing up to the limit of what the rule says, and also having just bad fundamental habits, which I've seen many people have. Whoever fucking plays like this, bad habits, poor form, but like, that stuff causes issues. And so maybe I don't know.
So my point is, there's never going to be a single agreed upon number for
I
everybody
agree.
that's going to operate the same way.
That's a
And
case by case, right?
yeah, that's a thing where discretion and judgment are actually required. And I know that we hate this idea of, well, you might need to have a conversation and actually present reasons why something needs to happen in order to judge specific situations. We want a kind of nice hard and fast rule. This is what it says. It's this many, and therefore we can move on. But it's neither realistic nor is it equitable, in my opinion. So I'm like, focusing on the number is not the correct thing. It's focusing, like you said, on, are there bad habits? Are there things that need to be fixed? Fix them early, so it doesn't become an issue.
Yeah, and going back to there was a post we talked about it on last week's podcast, but that's the whole reason we have captains meetings at tournaments to discuss issues that are over and above what our guiding rule sets are in place to kind of cut out most of the bullshit. But there are exceptions. There's always exceptions. So that's why you have a meeting with the people that are attending that tournament to say, this is over and above what our governing rules say. How do we deal with this specific situation? Because you can't have a rule book that covers every specific situation. It's just not possible.
There's no rule book or legislation, no matter how well crafted, is going to cover all edge cases all the time.
That's right. That's communication, kids. It's a beautiful thing, usually. Would anyone one final thing? If you want to have this, if you want to add to the conversation, by all means do. And the 2 ways I would go about doing, 3 ways actually, 3 ways to go about doing that. 1, start your own podcast. 2, but don't call it the Resupply. That's already taken. 2, have a conversation with your site rep to hear your argument and bring it up in the tournaments committee page. Or 3, bring it up in the Laser Force tournaments group. And unfortunately, you have to wade through a bunch of bullshit because there's many of us that have short attention spans apparently in the tournament scene.
Or tell us here.
Tell us here. 4 ways. There's 4 ways. So many ways.
There are 4 lights.
Or you got a Discord. Oh my god. There's 5 ways. Who's the UK rep? By
like
default.
You just volunteered, Smalley.
I think so.
Don't ask a question if you don't want the answer.
I mean, you're the most active representative from the UK, so yeah, kind of by default is you. Right.
So, sorry, Smalley. We don't make we kind of make the rules, but
but only after a lengthy discussion.
We help
about them.
craft them.
Yeah. All right. Well, hopefully, hopefully you guys have enjoyed our ramblings about some important topics. I think that we often talk about. We give our 2 cents here on the podcast. I figure it's a way that you can hear 3 opinions that you may not otherwise get on the tournaments page, because I am too lazy to write stuff in text. I'd rather talk about things. DK doesn't know what Facebook is, and I mean Than often is in there being an old man trout.
I willingly choose not to know. I couldn't have more than 3 hours. My god.
Do you like that they keep trying to debunk Illuminati and keep doing Illuminati shit?
If this was Illuminati shit, we're doing a terrible job if that's who we're supposed to be. Nothing is secret. It always gets out. So.
Yeah, especially when we talk about it on here, which I kind of like. I like that the podcast is a way that we can talk about stuff that happens in private. Well, not all stuff that happens in private. I mean, again...
Oh, no. We still have deep, dark secrets that we'd never get into on the pod.
Yeah, I mean...
Correct.
What DK said early in the podcast, his joke that he made. Right.
Yeah, make sure you watch the VOD for that one.
Yeah, watch DK almost fucking murder me. That was glorious.
So
fucking glorious.
For going forward this week, we're gonna try again to do a members night at yeah, that's exactly right. We're going to try again to do a Space Marines night this week, which if we can do, we will stream. If it doesn't happen this coming week, I know that Leech is actually coming over Easter week, so
Nice.
we'll try and stream when he comes to play. I said that we would gather the members and play some Space Marines for him / with him. So we'll definitely be playing on the 19th. But yeah, we'll try and play this week. Wednesday, we're going to try and actually build something out of Lego this week rather than just go through millions of bricks that I have in a box. Thursday, we're putting some stuff together. We're going to play a baseball game this week, but we're putting some stuff together to maybe do a extended campaign with like a group of us, possibly Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, because from what I hear, it's like Borderlands meets D&D. And then
I've heard that too. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks kind of cool. So we might play a campaign with like a bunch of us, and we'll see how that goes. Then we'll be back again next week for the Resupply podcast.
Well, you two will be back next week for the Resupply podcast. I will be in Los Angeles next Friday, and
getting his birthday on.
The odds of me making the pod are slim.
All right. Well, we'll celebrate your birthday without you. I'm going to celebrate my birthday tomorrow. There shan't be cake, but I believe there shall be some sort of whiskey consumed. So we'll see. We'll see how we get on.
Nice.
In LA, better watch out for Will Smith. These fucking Will Smith jokes all week with this garbage.
It sucks. It really, really sucks.
I hate it. Cheers.
Flavor of the month. Just roll with it.
Russ.
We'll be on to something else by next week.
Yeah, exactly. That's how Facebook works. That's actually, for me, that was the signifying marker that COVID is officially over, because that dominated the conversation. People don't give a fuck about COVID, which apparently is something that's not that new in your country, but whatever.
Nope. Not even a little.
Not even a little.
COVID, Putin. No, get it all out of here. It's all Will Smith.
It's
now.
all Will Smith. Thank you very much, Smalley. Appreciate it. For this week, I have been Guy Next Door.
I've been DK.
And I've been Than.
Thought you were going to say I've been Old Trout Than, but never mind.
I probably would have stuttered on it, and it just wouldn't have been good. So
This opportunity.
Always remember to backtrack on your promises, kids. We will see you all. We will see you all next week. Thank you very much for hanging out with us today. Ka kite anō.
I've been throwing daggers in the night. I've been chasing all the stars, stealing all their lights. The cut so sharp, cut so deep. If they seem to hit their target, it must be what we reap. 'Cause you don't know what I know. You don't feel the way I feel. All these places I wanna go makes me wonder if my looks could kill. I've been throwing daggers in my dreams. If they seem to hit their target, it's harder than it seems. You don't know what I know. You don't feel fucking